Hello, and welcome to episode 27 of From a Basement in Tulsa. I'm Jason Ferguson. Today's episode is with C.R. Parsons. He's a Tulsa comedian that came over and hung out, and I don't know, we had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this episode. First, I have a message from Sarah from the Denver band Edison about our gig November 4th at Guthrie Green. Don't forget to vote.
This is Sarah from the band Edison in Denver, Colorado. We're coming to Tulsa this election day to join the Rock the Vote concert at Guthrie Green. This event is all ages, free to the public, and begins at 5:30 p.m. We're joined by Eric Hyman plus EH3, Brujo Roots, Jason Ferguson, and DJ Spencer LG. This event is sponsored by Tulsa Regional Chamber, Tulsa's Young Professionals, Guthrie Green, and more. We'll see you then. Don't forget to vote.
I gave you 4 years of my half-assed love.
How are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm quite well.
That's good. I'm so excited already. Too much coffee. But CR is the first, not only on time, but early guest.
Comes from my day job, I guess.
Man, those are fun. And sometimes people is like, yeah, I'll be there, and then just not say anything. And so I'm sitting here all set up, ready to record, and then all of a sudden I'm in a hurry to find another guest for the next week's episode. And it's like, thanks, guys.
Well, I heard you talk about one guest that met you at Whole Foods.
Yeah. Oh, you heard?
Yeah.
You listened. That was the first guest. Band didn't know what he was doing, and actually, my girlfriend Lourdes has taken over.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, sending booking emails because I'm
Right.
so terrible about it. I'll just be like, "Hey, come over to my basement and talk into a microphone," and they'll be like, I just assume everybody knows what a podcast is or knows what I'm planning on.
Right.
And then there's even different podcasts that are interviews, and I don't want to do an interview at all. I just want to hang out and get to know people. So they'll either show up expecting questions.
What? You didn't study my bio before this?
I did. Well, I didn't have to study your bio. I just got to see you perform a couple times, so I knew a little bit about you. But that gentleman just thought I was gonna. I don't know what he thought, but whatever it wasn't gonna be happening at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
I'm glad you listened, so you know what to expect.
Yes, I do.
I never do.
Well, as much as I can.
Yeah. Man, so I've seen you perform, I think 3 times.
Okay.
And I love your comedy, man.
Well, I appreciate that. I love doing it. It's a great avenue to vent things and just get them out there, and it saves me thousands in therapy.
I'm sure. Absolutely sure. Sometimes I just feel like yelling, and I feel like I could yell something funny.
Exactly.
And then people laugh at you. That's cool.
Exactly. And there is a high. I'm sure being a musician, you get it too, when you get that audience feedback.
Never experienced
And it's instant, and it's so filling that it's just... It did not take very long for me to just be like, okay, I'm going to mainline this stuff
I'm
now.
addicted, for sure. The first time I think I played in front of people, even though I did terrible, I was like, I want to do this forever.
Yeah.
I was sitting on a stool and shaking and just playing the one song I had written or knew, and then somebody was like, "Oh, your voice is pretty okay. You could do good."
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can relate to catching that experience and loving it. And I was just telling you that you might break the monotony of how did your band form?
Oh, yeah.
But how did you get into comedy?
Well, it's kind of the same story. I guess I've been thinking about this because I've been asked that question a couple of times now. And I've been doing stand-up comedy actively for about 3.5 years now. A few years back, a buddy of mine was doing it. I came out and saw him at the Looney Bin here in town and just went, I've been wanting to try that. Why don't I give it a try? But thinking back...
It's the same thing with every drug, man.
It is. It is. That looks like fun. But looking back, I can see that, when I was a kid, I did Magic Act. And I did comedy in my Magic Act, And when I ran for office in high school, in one of those stupid runoff things that you have in high school for like chaplain or vice president or president of the student association, my speech was a complete ripoff of a comedian that had just been on TV a couple of nights before. And it just happened to work. So I won my office by stealing somebody's bits.
I didn't win an office, but one time I was supposed to write a poetry in English class, and I wish I would have gotten into it because I had some poets on the podcast, and they it was awesome how they. But the point was, I didn't know how it was like a descriptive story poem thing. I just completely copied, like a children's needs commercial.
Oh, how
and
funny!
Like absolutely, like to the T, like that feeling you get in your stomach, and like when you see these photos of these children, and I got like an A, the only time in English that year. So, and then like the teacher was all like, "I'm so impressed. Thank you for paying attention to this assignment." And I was like, "Thank you, advertisement."
Yeah, thank you for not seeing that commercial before you read this.
Thanks for being too busy for TV.
That's right. So yeah, it's a fairly new thing as far as actively pursuing it, but as far as loving to tell stories, I'm a storyteller. My family are all from Mississippi, so they are storyteller type people. That's what we did at night, is we sat around and shot the bull. My cousin has a great line. He says, "Never let the truth get in the way of a good story."
For sure.
And that's really what I do. I like to get up and tell stories and make people laugh.
Well, I think you've picked a good profession, hopefully eventually, and
Yes.
certainly not a hobby, if not a hobby.
Yeah, exactly. Right now it's drifting back and forth. I do a little bit of work, where you get paid, which is kind of nice. As a musician, you know how that is.
For sure.
It's great when you get paid for what you're doing. But I do still have the day job where I practice law.
Well, that's pretty interesting to me, because there's like kind of two stories. The main story for when you're younger is, if you have a desire, just drop everything you have and go chase that. And if you fail, come back. But a lot of people are like, no, I went and got a career, so now I can fund anything I want to try. If I want to record an album, I can do that and still pay for food.
Yeah.
So I feel like
I did it both directions.
Yeah?
When I was younger, I swore I was going to be a country western singer.
Oh, good.
I mean, to the point that my brother and I cut an album.
Oh, man.
I say an album, a CD. It was recent enough that CDs existed.
Is it available somewhere?
Yeah, in the trunk of my car. No, it's we hadn't sold any in years. We haven't actually played together in almost 15 years. But I knew that was what I was supposed to be doing. And so I chased that for years, and then got married, had a family, had responsibilities. So I went back to school, got my degrees, finished up, got to work. But the entertaining bug would not let go.
I can assume not. If I don't play, or if I'm not in front of people for a long time, even if I'm like, I'm not booking for several months, I can't do it. I have to go play an open mic or something. Just, I don't know. It's some weird need.
I'm the exact same way, and I get antsy, and things irritate me much quicker than they would otherwise. Even now, if I go a week without hitting a stage, I'm like, okay, I got to do something. I'm going to the Gypsy or something.
Got to record a podcast or something.
Exactly, because it's going to drive me nuts not to be on stage.
I can understand that. I'm trying to think of which times I've seen you perform. I know the last, like the Tulsa Comedy Competition, I think you were hosting.
Yeah, I hosted a couple of different Wednesday nights for the early rounds this year. Last year I competed, but this year I've just been doing the hosting.
I think that's where I saw you first, is the competition last year.
Yeah, where Michael Zampino beat me.
Oh, that.
Sorry. No,
Yeah, so
I love
remember
Michael.
now. I do like Michael too. He was an early guest.
Yes, he was. I saw that.
You can go back and listen to me figuring this whole podcast thing out. Not that I have now, but you can tell a huge difference in the sound and me being nervous. Now I'm only like 50% nervous, and then it was like 102% nervous.
Now you realize it's just sitting down talking to people.
Yeah, I realize that I have the control to edit.
That's right.
That helps.
Oh, I didn't like what I said there. I'm erasing that. Oh, they said something stupid. I'm leaving that in.
I'm turning that up. But yeah, that's cool. I guess it's been a year since I've seen you perform a couple times since then. And how much has it taken off since that competition? How much did that change your life?
Significantly, as far as getting bookings and that kind of thing. I've actually hosted here in town a couple of times for the Looney Bin, which is a full week of work, which is great because that's a lot of stage time. And at the level that I am, that's the key, is more stage time equals better quality overall. I've also gotten to work in Oklahoma City
I was about to ask about that. I saw you posting and being
Yes.
excited about it. How was that?
Oh, it was great. I said after the weekend I probably ought to quit because I had the most rock star thing ever happen to me while I was hosting there.
Let's hear it.
Friday early show. After the show, there's a group waiting in the lobby to go into the showroom, and there's the group coming out of the showroom speaking to the comics. Well, being the MC, I'm off to the side because I'm not worthy of them standing in line to speak to me.
Yeah.
This young girl comes over and she goes, "Will you sign my boob?"
Yes.
Yeah, my immediate response was, sure. I expected her to pull her shirt down just a little bit so I could... No,
Nope.
She reached down, pulled it all the way up in front of 200 people. And here's where being an attorney messes with you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, my first thought was not, those are nice. They're they're where they should be. My first thought was, Title 22, Section 1021. You're not allowed to be indecent exposure in public. Put those things away.
My thought is, are you of age? That's all I would think about, but you're indecent exposing.
Wow, I didn't even... Oh, no, it's a bar. She had to be of age.
Lucky.
Oh, man. You scared me for a second.
So you can't get in trouble.
Right, I can't get in trouble.
That picture you posted of it on the internet, she might be a little bit...
The thing was, she wandered down to the feature and headliner and asked them the same thing. Headliner said, "Flop him out." I said, "That's why he's the headliner and I'm the MC."
It wasn't his first rodeo.
Yeah, he knows how to answer that question.
Did you find... I imagine in Tulsa, you have people that for sure know you, come see you.
Yes.
And especially with the competition, you tell everybody, "Hey, I'm trying to beat Michael Zampino, that bitch." But then in Oklahoma City, was there anybody you knew, and did it change anything for you?
There were a few folks that came out to see me that I knew, both from law school and from... My parents lived in Norman 100 years ago. So don't hold that against me, OSU fans. So I knew a few folks that came out just to see me. But it's always interesting to play a new room where you don't know people, because you don't know what their similar experiences are. And that's where a lot of comedy comes from, is the universality of experiences. So I can talk about being a rock star or thinking I was a rock star when the girl asked me to sign her boob, and you can relate to that because you've heard those stories. You may have been there for all I know.
I cannot confirm or deny.
And so that's where the comedy comes from, is that universality. And you always wonder when you go to someplace different, are they different enough that I'm not going to be universal enough for them?
Well, I think universal means everywhere. No, I'm just kidding.
Theoretically, it should.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I can imagine. I went, like the first time I played, I went on a little tour with some friends, and I was playing in San Diego, and it was just like a small bar, but kind of crowded and loud, and I'm just there with there's bands playing after me.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm just there with an acoustic guitar, and the stage was full of all the band's equipment, so I had to stand in front of the stage with a microphone stand. I wasn't even worthy of the stage, but that by the end of the first song, the bar was paying attention and really enjoying the song, and I was like, that's a big moment.
Yeah,
I'm
it
sure
is.
It's the same when you have lots of laughs here, but you're like, I mean, there's always a small part. It's like, are these just my friends? You know, are
Right.
these just my friends?
Yeah.
But I can imagine it's the same. So, and you had a good time?
Oh, I had a great time. Had a blast doing it. It was fun.
I'm glad. I'm real glad to hear that. I hope it keeps picking up, man.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping to do the other Looney Bins before too long and kind of stretch myself out. I've got to kind of balance that, of course, with the day job where I've got to actually show up in court occasionally. So I always have to watch my scheduling to make sure that's going to work. But I also do the Comedy Parlor downtown.
Yeah, you have I don't remember what you call it. But
A variety show.
Variety.
Yeah, it's just a variety show.
I was thinking mix. I don't know what a mix.
It's a mix show.
It didn't make sense in my head. So
I play the
DJ
people.
comedy.
I play the people and mix them up. No, it's a variety show, straight up forward variety show. I try to feature a comedian every time, a musician every time, and some active interest, which has been so far anything from burlesque dancers to hoop dancer to a sideshow performer. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard Mr. Crispy.
I'm not sure. I think so.
Oh, he's amazing. He does the blockhead, the bed of nails. Oh my gosh. He did my variety show, did the bed of nails, and he was looking for somebody to come stand on him on the bed of nails. called me up to do it. Called me up to... Now, you can see me. You know what that means. It scared me half to death. Because I'm going, I'm 300 plus pounds, dude. Are you sure you want me standing on you?
Were you more worried about his back or your feet?
His back. Because I knew that those nails were not going to get all the way through him to my feet. But I was afraid they were going to get part of the way.
Yeah, but apparently he
survived.
He's alive, so
yes,
that sounds cool. And burlesque, I've recently got involved with those girls. And,
oh, have you?
And it's awesome. Well, that sounds really. I've gotten involved. I've became friends and like been to some of their shows and stuff.
Yeah,
and they're awesome.
Oh yeah, they're great girls. I call them girls. I call everybody kids because I'm getting older. But yeah, they're sweethearts. I love hanging out with them. Their performances are amazing. They really do a good job, and they really put a lot of work and thought into every move that they make.
Absolutely.
And it blows me away every time I learn something new about it.
Oh, so when is the next? How often is the mix night?
It's mix night is once a month, first Saturday of every month.
Oh, cool.
It's 8:30 on the first Saturday. So the next one will, if I don't know when this will air.
I think it'll be the first. November 1st is the next Saturday.
Yeah, November 1st is the next Saturday from now. So
yep. So that's perfect.
Okay, I didn't know how long.
We call it time traveling, or I call it time traveling when somebody starts announcing, "Oh, tomorrow I'm going to be at the fair." Well, that's last week now.
Exactly.
But no, this will for sure be out by then.
Cool.
So November 1st.
Yeah,
I'll try to be there.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. We've got a new musician. I know his first name is John. I have completely forgotten his last name. And he's going to kill me now because this would have been some free advertising for him.
We can look it up if you want.
I may here in a minute. And then we've got a couple of good comedians. I'm still looking for my active interest for this month. So if you know of anybody or you hear of anybody with like a stupid human trick, have them call me. I love those things.
I can't think of any. I'm missing out. I mean, I know some people good at keg stands and... I'm just kidding.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. That's a talent.
Some of them are superhuman. So, well, I'm sure you'll figure it out, though. And November 1st, that's cool.
Yeah.
And Comedy Parlor is awesome. It's right there.
Yeah, it's a nice little venue. It seats, 50, 60 or so. And the stage is just right there. It feels very intimate. You feel like you're part of what's going on as an audience member, so it's a great place to perform.
When Michael Zampino was here in May, he said one of the best parts, or I don't think he said the best part, but one of the things that comes with it is hearing the restaurant on top and the plates and everything. Has that changed?
No, it has not. You can still hear it sounds almost like there's a dance class going on upstairs at times, but sound equipment does a great deal to cover that.
Yeah, just turn the PA up.
Exactly.
I can't complain too much because we're probably going to hear my neighbor's TV in this recording, so I can't really...
What are they watching? Is that NCIS?
It's probably a law show. I can ask you some questions because, I'm sure it's just like the TV show.
Of course. Yeah, if you've seen TV, you've been to law school.
My girlfriend's been watching some show, I don't even know the name of it, where it's like a sweet girl as a lawyer and she's changed bodies with a model or something weird, but she's always like really like sweet and like asking the judge for things and, oh, can we take a recess? And when you started talking about law, I was picturing you walking up to like the judge's stand and like, excuse me, sir, can we have a recess? And it was hilarious in my head.
I can imagine. That would be funny to see. Excuse me, can I have a little break here? I need to go tinkle.
Can we say your website first, so if the listeners need to pause and go see a picture of you?
Sure, that would be perfectly fine. It's my comedy website is www.crparsons. That's PARSONS.com.
Go look and then picture him. Can I go take a tinkle?
That is a funny visual.
It's there forever in my head.
Yeah.
Every time I see you. So we've talked about Michael, and I'm gonna give Michael a thanks for he suggested. I was talking to you and him at Looney Bin.
Mm-hmm.
I went to see Eric Hyman with his competition.
Yeah.
But Michael was like, CR, you should go be on Jason's podcast. And I was like, yeah, you totally should. So thanks, Michael, for sending you this way.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well.
Have you guys worked a lot together?
Yeah, we've been performing together off and on for the last 3 years. He's one of the people that I remember when I started in the scene that I looked up to, because I knew he was also fairly new, but he seemed to have a style and a casualness about him that I'm not good at. I'm just now getting where I can relax and just kind of be on stage. I'm one that, well, I'm a little bit of a control freak. So I always, wanted to plot things out exactly. And I knew exactly where I was going. I know I'm going from here to here. And it takes exactly 30 seconds to get through this bit. And
these people are going to laugh this loud for this long.
Exactly.
And if they don't, they're wrong.
That's right. And Michael just goes up there, and I know he puts a lot of work into his material, but he just has such a casual style about it that you would honestly believe that was the first time he's ever said it, that he just thought of it.
Well, that's a good style to have.
Yes, it is.
But
it is.
I also like there's so many styles that it doesn't matter. Whichever. Yeah. And I mean, I've laughed every time I've seen you perform. Well, I want you to give all your material away here.
I don't have any problem doing that.
I'm just kidding. I just watched a Bill Burr video because I also listen to his podcast. I don't talk about a lot of the podcasts I listen to, but I've listened to a lot of Bill Burr, always Joe Rogan, but also Radio Lab is incredible.
Love Radio Lab.
It's so awesome. And then they started a new one called Serial, which is like they're telling a story of a guy that got arrested, and this journalist or they're trying to figure out if he was arrested wrongly, and they're trying to prove his story. And then every week they're like, next week on Serial. So now it's just like a TV show. I'm waiting all week, and that's why I listen to podcasts. So I don't have to wait. It's right there.
That's awesome.
But now I'm hooked on these podcasts, and I don't remember what. Oh, I was talking about Bill Burr. I saw him doing like a radio interview, like an internet radio, and the guy was like, well, how about I give you this mic? You're a funny guy. You got all these routines in your head. How about you just do them here? And he was just like, I want to perform stand-up comedy to 9 people on an internet station.
Exactly.
And I love seeing those guys because I can see it in music to where there's a point where you have no idea what to expect and you're just trying to please everybody and go with it. But then there's a point where you're like, I'm not doing that, man. I'm not playing another 45 minutes. Like I'm not singing that song. I don't even care. Yeah. So I can picture how he feels at a radio station with another goofy dude. You're funny, see this.
Well, and the other thing musicians have that comedians don't is comedy. I compare comedy to magic because once you've seen a trick, if you see it again, you're going to pick up things that you didn't last time. And after 2 or 3 times, it's not going to be that interesting because there's not going to be that wow factor.
Yeah.
Well, with musicians, you get to repeat songs from set to set. And the people that follow you are following you because of those songs. And the people that are new, they're hearing new songs.
Yeah.
As a comedian, if I do the same set over and over in front of the same group of people, it gets really old really fast.
I felt like a total jerk. I went to see Jim Gaffigan. I laughed all night. Hilarious. And then I was offended that he did the Hot Pocket joke as his ending joke.
Oh.
And I was that's like 4 years old. That's why you're famous. And then I realized I was being dumb. And I was, that can't be your last joke.
And his response would have been, I'm
up here.
Sick of the Hot Pocket joke. I've been doing it for 4 years, but people expect it, so I throw it in at the end.
Yeah. Well, I've seen musicians do the opposite. Christina Perri is one. The only really song I knew of hers is called Jar of Hearts. I don't know if you know the song, but I went to see her, and she opened for One Republic. She played that song first, and then I was like, I was still interested, but I wasn't as interested. Right. I was really excited for that song, and then I was like, well, I got what I need.
I've got what I was here for. Now I can turn to speak to the person next to me and ignore her for the...
well, we talked during her set, so we didn't have to talk during One Republic.
Yeah.
Because can't talk during One Republic.
You cannot. No, you've got to give Ryan what is due to Ryan.
For sure. I had a guest, I think... I don't remember who it was, but it was a band. And I was talking about it was like right after the One Republic concert. And I was like, I went to see One Republic last night or last week, and they kind of laughed about it. And I was like, well, this
Did they think you said One Direction?
I don't know what they thought, but I think After I started talking about One Republic, I was like, oh no, this guy loves them because they're kind of a heavier band. So I had to lay that out there.
I'm more interested in your fascination with Garth Brooks, sir.
Oh, I don't. Man, the first time I realized that everybody didn't love them, I was just amazed. It was like a mind-opening experience. Like it was just a part of my childhood. I remember sitting with my parents, watching him do all these things, and I've just always loved his songs.
Yeah.
So like I was 21, and somebody's like, I don't like Garth Brooks. I was like, how is that possible?
Well, see, my brother and I were rodeo goers. I can't say we were rodeo people. He was a bullfighter for about that long.
A short amount of time.
Yeah, very short period of time. But we went to a lot of rodeos, so I was a big Chris Ledoux fan.
Right on.
Before Garth Brooks mentioned Chris Ledoux. And so when everybody else was trying to figure out what those words were, I'm going, he's saying Chris Ledoux, a worn out tape of Chris Ledoux. How do you not get that? His show looks like Chris Ledoux's show. How do you not get this? So I've been a big fan of Garth Brooks forever as well. And in a almost to a weird extent.
Yeah, I'll openly admit I'm a fanboy of a lot of things. Fangirl even. It's probably fangirl level with Garth Brooks. And somebody, like, anytime anybody's messaged me, like, it's only happened a couple times, like, what do you think of that new Garth Brooks song? Because, like, when he announced he was going to release a new song, I, of course, freaked out on Facebook. And then, like, another musician messaged me, like, I feel like something's wrong with his recording because...
it was just classic.
Yeah. And I started the message with, this might just be the fanboy in me because Garth can't do anything wrong. But then I explained how I really enjoyed how they took off the shiny, overproduced, I don't know.
Yeah. They took the polish off and it still shone like gold.
Yep. And it was such a good...
Yeah.
CR, look what you did to me.
I know. I'm a big fan as well, so I can't say anything.
It's a good message in a song.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very, very, like, well played, well heard song. And it's just like, love everybody, just do it.
Exactly.
And I'm a fan of that message for sure.
Yep. But yeah, I that's the thing about comedy is you can't do that repeating songs like you can as a musician as much. And the idea of covering another comedian's material is an absolute no.
But I've seen that at Looney Bin, and I kind of knew. I was like, this is some fishy stuff right here. And it wasn't like he wasn't covering it, or he was doing an impression of the person, but saying their whole bit.
Right.
And that's where the laughs were coming from. And
right.
I don't know, but then he did some musicians. It was funny, but for a second I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But then I remembered that I have no idea what I'm talking about. This guy's probably awesome. But
well, impressionists, they go through those levels. People that are good at impressions will go through that stage where they just repeat the other comedian's bits, and then they'll learn to speak not only in the sound of the person, but actually in the attitude. And that's when they really get good at it, is when they can put that person in other situations.
Yeah.
And that's when impressions become good. I don't know exactly who you saw, but I would be willing to bet it was not a great impression show if they were just repeating the comedian's material.
It's the best impression I've ever seen.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
It may have been. It may have been.
Can you imagine how different it would be, like, if comedy was like music in the way that if you play at certain bars, you have to cover, like, every third song has to be a cover song.
Right.
Or can you imagine if you showed up, you're headlining this tour, and like, oh, by the way, the rule is every third bit
has to be somebody else's
from the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Or an 80s bar.
See, I would love that because I know all of the bits from the 80s because I was a huge comedy fan. But yeah, that would be weird. I mean, that would be so different. And in music, that's so common.
Yeah.
Because I know you guys get that.
For sure.
You come in and they're like, we want covers because we want things that people know. We don't want you playing originals.
You don't really, it's not as much if you have people coming to see you. Then it's you do whatever you want.
Right.
That's when you have the power. But certainly some bars they have a built-in crowd. That's just what they expect.
Right.
But they also pay you for it, so it's
yeah.
it's whatever.
Yeah. Let me see. Do I want to eat this week or do I want to just do originals?
Well, that's what I was saying about finding career first or whatever, something you're finding a way to make money first. I've never been in a situation where it was either play these cover songs or don't eat, unless it was my own fault. Like I bought an extra microphone like this week. So
I like that microphone. It sounds amazing.
I'm glad. Thank you. I'm excited. Now I have to buy like 7 more. And we'll get this thing going.
No. You're the only one who has to sound amazing. Your guests can sound a little less.
That's
because
true.
you are the star of the show.
Not. You're the star, CR. You're the man.
I was setting you up for that.
So, this is where 3 years of stage time gets you. Excellent. So, you want to switch mics or
No. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Well,
I'm fine with this one.
Yes. People do get caught in that, though.
Yeah, they do.
Plan this or I don't eat. And that's sad, but, hopefully they get out of it.
Yeah.
Or they get stuck in it, which is, I don't know. I don't care as long as you're happy, man.
Yeah, exactly. And, the thing about any creative art is if you can make a living doing a creative art, then that's a success. I mean, that is a huge success.
As long as you're staying happy doing it.
Right. Yeah, if you're selling your soul to do it, that's a whole different story.
Unless there's millions involved.
Then souls are optional.
Souls,
they're at least rentable.
I think in aviation insurance, a life is worth $250,000. So I feel like if you're making $250K a year, that's the limit of keeping your happiness. I'm just kidding. I hope that's the number, but I remember hearing that.
It's not far from that. I've talked to some actuaries before who gave actual dollar figures on people's lives, and I'm like, oh, that's got to be a hard job.
Oh man, I think you'd have to be a special kind of person to deal with that.
Yeah, very much so. That's why I don't do plaintiff's law. That's why I don't sue people that have been in car wrecks, because that's exactly what you do. You put a price tag on the injury.
Wow. Nuts.
Yeah, it is. It's a weird practice.
So, explain more. I'm not following. You suing the person that was in the wreck?
Well, if somebody's injured in a wreck or dies in a car wreck, then oftentimes they or their family will hire an attorney to sue whoever caused the wreck.
Oh, wow. So
or the insurance company that's not paying up.
You have to determine how much to look for?
Exactly. How much is that left arm really worth?
Oh, I don't know. I think an uncle got $100,000 for an eye, and a work injury. And I was like, so you'll catch me at work closing an eye. Yeah. How important is it?
How really important is this? Because I could use an extra $100,000 right about now. I might get close to my student loans.
You just disappear for a while.
No, that's the thing for me is because I split it up. I did my artistic endeavor early on, and then quit and became a corporate shill. and now I'm getting back into my artistic endeavor. I do okay. I eat every week. I guarantee that.
For sure.
But student loans, oh my goodness.
That's crazy when you hear stories about it.
It's nuts. It's nuts how much you can owe in student loans.
The school I went to for free, and then I wasted that license. But then I see friends that are like, oh, like people my age, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in debt, making $12, $13 an hour. It's like, man, that doesn't add up. And that's not exactly a huge student loan.
Exactly. I always tell people I could buy a nice house for what I owe. Sally Mae. My Aunt Sally.
Well, I hope that eventually goes away.
Yeah. It either will or it won't. The thing about it is, where I am right now, I don't care if I ever retire. I'm enjoying practicing law. I'm enjoying doing stand-up. My life is in a good place. And so if I did this till the day I died, I'd be perfectly happy.
That's a great place to be.
Yeah, I don't see any need to quit working so I can enjoy my later years.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying my years now.
I'm sure that helps your personality and comedy a bunch, because a lot of people, I don't think they ever experience that in their lives at all. Does does performing comedy, has it affected practicing law?
Yeah, I'd say it has. I'm because I'm known in the law community as being a comedian as well. It makes it a little easier to break tension when you're in a judge's chambers or in a courtroom and things are getting tense, and there's no real need for the tension, but it's just built up. You can kind of go, okay, guys, let's step back here, and you can crack a joke, something innocuous that everybody can laugh at, and kind of break up the tension a little bit.
That's a cool thing.
Yeah.
My playing music, it's not so much now because I just don't bring it to work as much, but it was a lot of lost respect as a mechanic or as a technician because I was enjoying playing music afterwards.
Oh.
And I can't imagine that in law.
I would imagine that there are definitely some attorneys and maybe even some judges out there who are not particularly fascinated by my hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it doesn't help that I don't look like a lawyer. If you've done what you were supposed to do and went to the website and saw what I look like, when I go to court, I look more like a biker in a suit than I do like a lawyer. So that also affects, I'm sure, the way people view me. But then when I get in there and get to doing my work, they realize I'm just as serious a lawyer as anybody else. I just don't choose to fit that corporate
Stereotype.
mold.
Yeah. I like that about you.
Well, the look kind of began, I used to work for Legal Aid, which is the state's not free legal service, but service for those underserved or underprivileged.
Yeah.
And I did their homeless law. And so I was working with homeless folks, like down at the day center and at youth services and that kind of thing. And I realized very early on that they didn't want to talk to somebody who looked like a lawyer.
Yeah, that changes the perspective entirely. Now this look that's not the corporate mold is now trusted.
Exactly. And I got them to open up to me, to communicate with me. I was able to help a lot more people get a lot more done with their lives than I would have if I had come in with the short haircut and the clean cut face and the suit and tie every day.
Yep.
They didn't want that.
When I was going to register to vote, it turns out it's like right down the street from my place. But I guess it's 555 North Denver to register to vote.
Right.
And it's like 555 South Denver or 5th and South Denver is the courthouse. So I walked up in my work gear at the wrong place. And I felt so, I don't know, strange with just suits everywhere. And it was kind of a typical, I don't know, carrying the briefcase, I'm better than you look.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to.
Yeah, I understand the reason for dressing appropriately for court, because court is a serious matter. It is the state's way of controlling their own power. And quite honestly, we all know that individuals are here, states are here, federal government's here. There's that hierarchy, and you kind of have to do a little bowing down to the hierarchy above you. And so there is a need to be able to express that professionalism, that respect for the authority, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's why I wear the suit. If I did not have that, I don't know that I would even wear the suit and tie.
That's all they're getting.
That's right. That's right. That's as far as it goes for me. But yeah, I because there is a level of seriousness to what goes on there that does warrant the seriousness of attire.
Yeah.
And I fully understand that and fully respect that, and that's why I go in the suit with my hair pulled back, looking as appropriate as I can while still being who I am.
For sure. I wasn't mouthing the suits. It was just a weird experience because I'm never around that. I was like, holy cow. And then I walked up to the like, I don't know, the metal detector and all this stuff. Like it's the airport. Right. And I was like, I don't think I'm in the right place. And so then I felt dumb because north and south changes everything when you're looking at an address.
Yes, it does.
And as a former pizza delivery professional, I felt extra silly.
You're like, I should have known this.
How did I not know? Yeah, same thing though.
Well, I understand that because, the courthouse can be a very intimidating place.
Absolutely.
I'm there all the time, so it does not bother me anymore. But I remember going there on the other side of the table.
Yep.
When I was the one there to answer for something stupid I did, and I was scared to death, and appropriately so.
Yeah. I remember just having a ticket, and that's all I had to do. And I was 18, 17, somewhere around there, and I, of course, went to the wrong place. This seems to be a reoccurring thing in my life. I'm in this like criminal court hearing, and like all these people are just not there for tickets.
Right.
And I was like, so I waited an hour or something, and then I realized that I could just go across the hall and talk to the guy I needed to speak to and pay my ticket. But very intimidating nonetheless.
Yeah, it can be. And I forget that occasionally because I'm in there all the time. I'm like, you just come in, go do this. And I forget the appearance that it has to others outside of that.
I don't know, it'd be like, I imagine it's the suited people showing up at like an EDM festival. It's the same uncomfortableness. You're going to have to take that tie off, bud. I need it.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Excuse me, whose father are you?
Watch this. I probably have a lawyer friend that also parties hard at the EDM festivals.
You never know.
Turns out they could be anything.
That's right. That's right. As you can see, a lawyer could be anywhere. You have to watch for them. They're around the corner everywhere you go.
Do you think there's ever going to be a situation where, because you're a lawyer, somebody also in comedy is going to expect something from you? Like, hey, all of a sudden you're like the local comic law advisor. I would be concerned.
My personality type is such that I want to be helpful. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there are other attorneys who would be kind of frustrated even already, mm-hmm. Just because I get asked questions often. But I don't expect not to get asked questions often. Yeah. Because, if I knew an attorney when I wasn't one, I'd ask them a question if I had one. And so I don't consider it a hassle. It doesn't
mm-hmm.
bother me, but I can see where it might bother others.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if you weren't that helpful person, I don't know. I feel like there has to be a certain alignment of your personality to allow this lifestyle. And I enjoy it. And I don't want to talk about law often or law too much, but it was very surprising because you didn't, like, when I saw you didn't mention it until like towards the end of your set.
Right.
It was just like another, really? Like, because I mean, I didn't have a real first impression of you, but mm-hmm. when you meet you and you talk to you, it's not what you expect from your looks, sir.
Right.
Because you are, of course, in the suit and tie, and I'm just kidding.
Yeah, every time I perform in a complete suit and tie because I think the seriousness of comedy expects that respect and honor.
You only grow out your beard for your law job, but when you're performing, you cut your hair and shave.
That's right.
Man, that's respectful right there.
I can grow this out in a week. It's not a problem.
So jealous, man. I'm sure you've heard in the podcast me talk about. I'm a firm believer that as soon as I'm able to grow a beard or get it, transplanted from my head to my chin, I'll be a way better musician because the best soulful musicians always have big, beautiful beards, and that's what I'm lacking.
It's because they're lazy. I can answer that. That's the reason I have a beard is because I'm lazy.
They're spending that shaving time playing guitar. That's
right.
What happened.
That's right. They're over focused.
What are you looking forward to? Also, I mean, November 1st. But if you have anything big that you're just excited about.
Well, I'm excited about a football game.
Oh, are you performing at it or just going?
No, I'm not a big sports person.
Right.
The thing is, I am, like I said, originally from Mississippi. Okay. And my family are from Oxford, part of my family. And Oxford's where the University of Mississippi is. So I grew up lifetime of being an Ole Miss fan. Not that I cared that much about sports. I mean,
You're grandfathered into being an Ole Miss fan.
Literally. Yeah. My uncle was the registrar or associate registrar there for years. So it's literally in my blood. But this year, Ole Miss is playing the best football it has ever played in my lifetime. Not since Archie Manning was the quarterback, which was before I was born, has it been this good. And I know most people that I know in the creative arts don't care a thing about sports, because I'm the same way largely. But all of a sudden now I'm like, college football. It's Saturday, college football.
Oh, wow. I get excited when I think I might be able to watch a game, but then I'll turn it on and I'm just not as excited. I don't know why. It's I can watch this game or I can nap.
Yeah.
Or do this. I was a big Oklahoma Sooners fan.
Okay.
Grandfathered in, much like Garth Brooks. I just loved it. And then I think playing bars during sports game just ruined that for me. I don't know.
I'll bet.
I wasn't even mad at the people there. It may have just been getting away from it. Every Saturday I was performing somewhere, so I was missing the games and just kind of got away from it But one day I feel like I'm just going to all of a sudden be a big football fan again.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm not that big of a sports fan. I joke that when my wife and I got married, she knew the entire Dallas Cowboys starting lineup.
Yeah.
I knew the entire opening cast of Les Mis. Because she was into football, baseball, and basketball. I was into theater, art, and music.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we're kind of backwards in that way.
I came home Saturday afternoon, this most recent, and the upstairs neighbor was yelling and screaming about the football game. And I think most people would be mad because I was coming home to nap.
Right.
That's my other love of my life. And I wasn't even aggravated with the guy. I was just jealous. I was like, I want to be that excited. I want to be that enthralled by football. So I didn't even turn it on. I didn't even give it a shot. Like, he's got the excitement covered up there.
Yeah. His fantasy team was doing something or not doing something that he really wanted.
I don't even know what happened with football, but it's just funny to me that a normal downstairs neighbor would have been aggravated, beating the ceiling. I don't even have to use a broom because we're in a basement. Did you feel extra tall walking in this place?
I did. I felt like a giant. It was like boom, boom. Ceiling right about 3 inches above my head.
So I didn't even have to get a broom. I could have been angry, but I don't know. I guess I'm just extra passive about that, which comes into like people asking law questions. I've also never been like, I've seen people get really aggravated with people like only introducing themselves looking for something, like maybe, hey, I heard about you. I want an opening spot at your mix show. I'm always like, cool. I'll introduce you to whoever I can. So I don't know. I guess that I like that about your personality because I can relate.
Well, I can see where, because if you've opened for some big names, it's easy to have people go, ooh, can I use you to get to so-and-so?
Yeah.
I've got the song I wrote that would be perfect for them. Can I give it to you and have you give it to them?
Eric Hyman had the best stories about that. Did you listen to that?
Yeah, that's right. He was talking about Ani DeFranco.
Yeah.
Somebody wanting him to give Ani DeFranco.
Girls acting straight to get to Ani DeFranco.
Yes.
That's the best
Which is
part.
especially funny with Eric.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a thing with him. I don't know if he knew that I was already going to the burlesque Pasties for Paws that Lolly and them were doing, but I was planning on going before Eric got announced. But when I got there, I was like, man, it's the second time seeing you perform, and I'm already paying $20 for tickets. Wow.
Nice.
I don't know if he was sad about that or excited, because man, I don't know, there's something about it when somebody's paying a ton of money for tickets that's cool, unless you're not getting any of that money.
Right.
I recently played a gig where people were paying $60 a seat, and I played it for free. I was like, but it's still cool. Like, I imagine they were there to see me. And what is really cool about people paying $60 a seat is they're there to see music for sure. And
right.
So, I mean, I'm not really complaining about playing for free because I got to play to an awesome room full of people excited to see music, and now I have fans, and I don't know, it was cool.
Well, and there is that psychological effect. If somebody comes into a free show and they think the musician's just okay, they're going to be like, we're not going to pay attention. We're going to sit here and talk to each other. We're going to, ignore them, whatever. They don't give you anything back. If they pay to get into a show, all of a sudden they're vested in what you're doing. And it could be the exact same show, the exact same quality of music or quality of comedy, and they think it's that much better because they've already told themselves it was worth putting out this money.
Can you imagine how much worse it'd be if you were terrible, though? Just having an off night, and they paid this money for tickets, and then I break 2 strings or something like that, or my voice goes out.
Yeah.
That's nerve-wracking. I think just with experience, you learn to not be so nervous about things going wrong, because things just go wrong. And you learn that. But one of the first, like the early big shows I was on, I broke a string, and I only had like a 25-minute set for this big band, and I was 10 seconds of just, oh no, if I change the string, my set time's over. I've just ruined everything.
Right.
But then Brandon Clark saved the day and brought up his guitar. He was playing after me. He was like, before I could even get my guitar off my shoulder, he had another guitar for me. And I was,
that's nice.
What a great person.
Yes, that's very nice.
That's cool when you get that community.
Yes.
Have you
as long as they have not either detuned or
tuned
their guitar in some funny way.
He's like, I'm gonna make myself sound good.
I had that happen once. I was playing somewhere and I broke a string, and somebody handed me their guitar, and they were not used to playing with other people. They were just used to playing by themselves. So they handed me a guitar, and their tuning was accurate to the strings, but it was about a third of a step off from what it should be.
Yeah.
And so then
that's
I'm like,
a lot of a step.
I can't even fake chord this up to where it should be.
Were you performing by yourself, or do you have? I
was performing with my brother.
Yeah, so that makes
so
it
we had to
super
match.
difficult.
Yeah, we had to be in tune to each other, which was like impossible at that point.
I play a lot acoustic just by myself. So if I'm playing a song and I just capo it wrong, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I might not even notice. I'm like, oh, I'm singing weird today, but I'll very quickly find the right notes. But we were playing outside the BOK Center, and I did the intro to this song in the wrong capo, and my band stopped me. They're like, dude,
we can't continue with
luckily, the band I've been playing with is all really incredible musicians, so they noticed. They're like, that's not the right key. Hey, you might fix that before we come in. Yeah. But if it was a band of people like me, I would have played the whole song and felt like something might have been off, but it would have sounded disgusting. That sounded a little bit off.
Yeah, what was a little bit off of that time? Were the drums a half a beat behind?
I would blame the sound guy.
There you go. When in doubt, blame the guy behind the board.
Sure. Or the drummer. I found blaming the drummer is good.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. My cousin is a drummer, and he's always to blame.
Yes,
always
for everything in life.
That's right.
I can see that.
That's right.
Have you found that community of friends automatically in the comedy scene here?
It has definitely developed, and especially over the last few years, as the comedy scene has come up, because I don't know what it was like, obviously, before I got involved. But I know what it was like when I first got involved and what it's like now. And there is a raising of all boats in Tulsa comedy right now, because everybody's working hard at it. Everybody's out there hustling. Everybody's really trying to hone their craft. And so there is definitely a brotherhood. But even in comedy in general, I think there's a brotherhood because there is that sense of, as a comedian, it's us against them. You actually have to go into it with a little bit of a I'm going to slay you mentality. And so there is that brotherhood of people who have been through it.
Yeah. I don't know, I've never felt that way. Not for very long.
Yeah.
I mean, in music, I want everybody to succeed. I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm, not famous.
Yeah.
Probably has nothing to do with it. It's more I don't really practice that often. But I kind of feel like I'm a part of Tulsa's comedy scene because I listen to Zampino and Roy's podcast, Route66breakdown.com.
Yes.
And I not really feel too much of a part, but I feel involved enough because I listen to it,
Right.
And I've heard them start to kind of trash talk a Tulsa comedian. And it kind of gets in there, like they say something a little bit not very nice, but then immediately it's like, oh, he's working so hard though, It's like, wow, you guys are
Yeah, you have to understand, when I say brotherhood, I mean that in every sense of the
It
word.
means you're going to fight and build each other up at the same time.
Exactly. Did you have any siblings growing up?
4 brothers.
Say, so you know exactly what it's like. You and your brother will talk crap to each other and yell at each other and be throwing blows. But the minute somebody else steps in and says anything, you're like, oh, wait a minute. You can't say that. He's my brother. I can get away with this. We know each other. We have this repartee. You're not involved. Quit.
I have that experience. I was playing a show. I think I've already talked about this. Sorry if you've heard this story. Actually, I'm not that sorry. I'm telling it again. It was my brother was at one of my shows, and most of the crowd was there to see the headliner. I just happened to be, my friends were all up front, all my people there to see my songs. And then some people in the back started talking trash about how I wasn't country and they don't want to hear my sad songs. And it was like 2 ladies, they walked away, went to the bathroom, went to the bar, and he was offended. He was so mad. You don't say that stuff about my brother. And I was kind of like, dude, it's all right. I do sing really douchey, cheesy songs. So it's owed to me.
That's funny.
But same thing. But then, we'll duke it out if we have to.
Exactly. But comedians, I mean, as a people, we rag on each other all the time. It's almost second nature. If you see an opening, if you see a crack, you punch through it as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And I'm one that I assume if a comedian says something to me that would otherwise be hurtful, that they're kidding.
Yeah.
I assume it's a joke unless or until they prove to me by doing it repeatedly that it's not. I assume they're kidding or they're just picking at a personality trait. And I'm fine with that.
I like that outlook on life. I talked about it early, just automatically assuming something's funny when I'm talking to somebody or especially on the podcast. Because if there's like a weird moment, just, and then if there wasn't a laugh, I'm like, oh, sorry, but most of the time...
I thought it was funny.
I haven't really done that. Well, I guess I've had a occurrence where something I was unsure of and just laughed at it, and it was offensive. But I realized I try to do that consistently.
Right.
Just, I don't know. I assume the best.
Exactly. Expect the best and prepare for the worst.
Well, that's my problem. I just never prepare for anything.
Oh. I can understand that.
Lucky for you, I had been to your sets. I had seen you perform. So I knew a little bit about what to expect. And I'm really excited that you decided to join today.
Well, hey, I have been thrilled to be here. Are we wrapping this up?
We don't have to.
Oh, I didn't know. That sounded like a closer. I'm really glad you did this today.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Get out.
I'm not going to say anything else. You're free to leave.
Don't hit your head on the roof, which is a weird thing to have to tell people.
Don't hit your head on the way out. The roof has not risen since you sat down.
Well, sometimes you forget.
You do. And I'm sure if you change clothes in here, you go to take off a T-shirt and it's like, wham! Oh, yeah.
The problem is my guitar. When I pull it off my shoulder, I'm sure there's marks on it.
Yeah.
Every time I pull it, I lived here 8 months now, and it's still, every time, just used to throwing up over it, and then, I don't know.
So you can't do that whole, who was it? The Nelson twins that did the whole swinging the guitar around them?
There's no doing that. Even if I didn't have the low roof, there's just no doing that. It would hit the tum-tum too hard.
I always said that about, which brand? Applause. Is it Applause? Or Epiphone? The guitars that are rounded on the back.
Oh.
I'm like, they're reversed.
Ovation, right?
Ovation, yes.
Yeah.
The Ovation.
They're
I'm
so
like,
slidey.
I can't play. If it's going to fit me, it needs to be concave, not convex.
It's curved the wrong way.
Then it fits into me.
That could be your thing, man. Trademark. I wonder if anybody's done that.
I don't know. Trademark C.R. Parsons.
For sure. That seems like a thing. Even if it sounds like crap, people would still buy it. I mean, you've seen capitalism work well.
That's right. That's right. I've seen a lot of crappy guitars get sold.
You just got to charge a lot for it, so
That's
people
right.
expect. I kind of want that. There was a time I was not required, but everybody was setting to play. It was kind of a intimate night, and I had to set to play, which I normally don't because I feel like I can't expand my lungs correctly. And another little tidbit of information: I'll set my microphone too high when performing, and it looks kind of silly, but it forces me to stretch out,
Forces you to stand upright,
and then I can just I can sing pretty full.
There you go.
But I was concerned about setting because I was actually like worried that I wouldn't be able to hold my guitar. I don't know, just a weird worry you get, I think.
Yeah, I get that because I have a tendency to crunch over my guitar. If I'm sitting down, I just fall all over it. And
have you ever seen somebody point out how different your guitar sounds if your arm is resting on it or not?
Yes.
Like, apparently, you're not supposed to rest your arm. And when somebody showed me that, I was amazed. And then I put my arm right back because that's how
right.
it is.
It's how you learned.
But if you can get away with not putting your arm on your guitar, it's better for you. I really want to hear your country songs, man.
Oh, no, you don't.
Are you Garth Brooks cover band?
No. We did all originals. Well, I say that we performed covers, but we were early enough. This was 15 plus years ago, so we were early enough that country had not become as rock and roll as it is now. And I'm sure you know what I mean by that. You listen to classic rock and roll and modern country, and there's very little difference. But what we love to do is take the old 80s heavy metal songs and make them country songs. So we did like Mama, I'm Coming Home as a country song. We did Heartbreak Station by Cinderella as a country song. We did a Cher song, and I don't even remember which one it was now. And, because a good song can be remade in a dozen different styles, while a bad song probably should not be made in one.
I'm already thinking a couple stories about this. I recently had a guest on. He's in a band called We Make Shapes here, and he was talking about his money-making project right now is he takes songs like that, popular songs, and turns them into arrangements for a string quartet that performs at weddings.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, how do I get invited to these weddings? Or maybe I should just get the string quartet on the podcast so I can meet him and make him play a song. That would work.
There you go.
Well, speaking of, Sturgill Simpson is a country singer. Have you heard that, gentleman?
Yes.
My friend Jason Fisher told me about him, and I freaked out. I loved his songs so much. So immediately, as a good fanboy would, tweeted Joe Rogan about it more than once. Like, oh my gosh, you have to hear this dude. You're going to love this dude. So then Shooter Jennings, who I now also love, was on Rogan's podcast.
Yes.
And I heard him talk about Sturgill Simpson, and I freaked out. Like, yeah, good.
Yes.
He knows. And then,
he knows.
So last night I was uploading my podcast, and I messed up so bad. I moved some things and I wasn't paying attention and just screwed the whole thing up. So
no.
I was about to upload it and had to start all over, which sucks when you're doing it late and have to be up early.
Yes.
So it helps the story when I find out that as I start to upload it, I realize that Sturgill was on Rogan's podcast. So it's like 2 a.m. I'm already going to get like 3 hours of sleep. And I'm like, oh no. Like, can I use those 3 hours and listen to Sturgill, or should I sleep? I was so excited, and I felt like I was part of this, even though I tweeted him and he didn't respond or notice it. But
right.
I mean, it's just so cool to see internet things happen. Like,
right.
Man, that's cool to me.
Yeah, and to see somebody that you already appreciate being appreciated by somebody else that you already appreciate just adds to that.
It's a fanboy overload, man.
It is. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I remember when I learned that Weird Al Yankovic and Emo Phillips were good friends. Weird Al Yankovic is a absolute hero to me. Growing up as a nerd in the 80s, he was a god, and he still is as far as I'm concerned when it comes to parody music.
He's so brilliant, man.
He is. And it made perfect sense when I learned that he and Emo Phillips, I don't know if you've ever seen Emo Phillips.
No.
He was an oddball comedian. I mean, very out there, very avant-garde, very artistic. But when you put the two together, you kind of like, well, that makes perfect sense. That if they had met, that they would be friends.
Yeah.
Because they're both geniuses in their own oddball way.
There's sometimes songs that Weird Al does that I don't like the original, but
but you like Weird Al's.
But now that I've heard Weird Al's, I like the original more. That aluminum foil. Yes. Oh my gosh, I was at work just laughing so hard. It's so brilliant. And then it goes from baking to all of a sudden he's wearing it like a conspiracy theorist. Yes. And I was like, I'm in the video, man.
That's right. That's right. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've been a huge Weird Al fan forever. I think I've seen him all but twice that he has performed in Tulsa. So that is kind of weird fanboy like
CR's a fanboy.
in and of itself. But it was so funny because when he came out with White and Nerdy, one of my kids was in school, and all of a sudden that song hit and it became popular amongst teenagers. Hugely popular amongst teenagers. And for just that brief moment, I was cool.
Yeah.
To my kid.
You're the original hipster.
That's right.
I knew him in the 80s.
That's right.
I'm
like, oh, you got to hear all of his old stuff. So he just thought I was cool for just that brief shining moment, and then it went away.
Those are the moments that count.
That's right.
So I'm told. I don't know. I've never really been cool. How does that feel?
Well, like I said, for that brief and shining moment, it was awesome.
I haven't seen Weird Al, but I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I want to. I don't know. I haven't. And it's cool that he all of a sudden, like just recently, this most recent album did better than like the rest. He eventually got all these awards he'd never experienced. And
right.
Good for you, dude.
Well, and I love the fact that technology has caught up with Weird Al to the point that he could embrace it in such a new way. You know, podcasting is still fairly new to people, but it's such a great medium. Well, he took that and took his music straight to YouTube, straight to Vimeo, and straight to these other avenues to get it out there. And I just thought that was brilliant on his part. And I was going, I could see him 20 years ago having done this if it were available, because it just fits.
Yeah.
It fits with who he is and what he does.
Good for him. I love podcasting. I don't know if you know that I'm going to start a podcast soon. I'm just kidding. Like, why am I here, dude?
Are you going to start another one?
No.
You're going to make a profession? You're going to become...
I'm going to start the Tulsa Podcast Network.
You're going to become Chris Hardwick
and charge people to...
make a living off of being a podcaster?
That wouldn't suck.
No, it wouldn't.
But like, I've told multiple friends, like, do this. I mean, it's not really that hard.
Yeah.
If you can control yourself, you won't spend all of your money doing it. And so now a couple of my friends are releasing podcasts, and I'm just so excited that that's a thing.
Well, knock on wood, I may have a podcast coming out.
It's hard to find wood in a basement, isn't it?
My head is always available.
You can hit the ceiling.
No, knock on wood, I may have a podcast out and available before too awful long.
I hope so.
One of the other comedians and I don't know if you know him, his name is Rick Shaw.
I've definitely seen him.
Okay. He and I sat down not too long ago and discussed doing a podcast, and we had our first recording session recently. And so we don't know how it sounds yet. We haven't gotten into all of that detail. There's a lot more to doing a podcast than you think. When you're like, oh, yeah, all I got to do is record it and upload it and you're done. No, it's not quite that easy.
I lucked out that I was a musician first, so I had all this gear. I had microphones, I had a mixer and everything. And I was like, well, it just kind of transferred over.
Yeah.
And I had spent some time trying to make recordings with my computer in the past, so it wasn't that shock wasn't there.
Right.
Until you realize how much you can mess it up. Like last night. And you're like, oh, no. Like, spending 5 or 6 hours on a 45-minute conversation, like, what's going on here? But it's worth it, and eventually I'll get real good at it. Eventually you'll get real good at it. You seem like a person that can accomplish a few things.
Well, I did internet radio years ago.
Oh, then you're set.
So no, the thing was, the guy that helped me with it, his name's Gene Savage. He's been a radio personality off and on in Tulsa for years.
Definitely heard that name.
He was the one that ran the internet radio station. And so I always just did my voiceover work and uploaded it, and he dealt with it from that point on. So all the production end was him. So luckily I got him involved. So he's helping us with that production end. But I remember, I had 3 hours on air, but I was doing the voiceover. I was pre-recording it. So in reality, I only had to record about 20 minutes worth of me saying things. But to say it and then edit it and make it all work, make it all sound right, make it all fit the sound of the station took hours. And I'm like, really? Is this hard?
My only problem, my only thing I can't accomplish is doing an intro by myself. can't do it. Last night I had to script it and practice it. I don't know why I feel so awkward talking to nobody when I know people are like, I can imagine people hearing it, but it just doesn't work. Just all
Good
of a sudden,
evening, good morning, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is From a Basement in Tulsa.
yeah, that's not happening. But it's like, hello, I'm Jason. Thanks for listening, stuff.
You mentioned earlier Radiolab. Now that you've done this, and now you listen back to Radiolab and all of the production that goes into that,
I can't even imagine.
Isn't it even more amazing to you?
Yes.
What a podcast it is after having done it?
It's cool. Yeah. I had a friend, Brad, a person
Yes.
I had him listen to Radiolab, and he was kind of like, I've heard all these. I guess it's on the radio first, and then
Yes.
comes the podcast.
Yes,
so
it's
that's
on NPR
That's a
first.
cool idea. But yeah, that's a lot of production goes into that.
Yes.
Which is exciting because my friend Drew McKenna from several radio stations in Tulsa, she was the first person to have me on the radio.
Mhm.
She was on Homegrown and just done a bunch of radio stuff.
Yeah.
But now she's doing a podcast. So,
nice.
So she has all that radio experience, and she's doing unrequited songs. Unrequited? How's the word? Do you know how to go?
Unrequited.
Unrequited. I know
Unrequited love songs.
unrequited songs is what
Okay.
she's doing, which is songs that you wouldn't hear on the radio. And I talked to her. She was hosting a gig I was at, and I was like, "Do it, Drew. Do a podcast." And now she's like messaging, "This is your fault, Jason. Be a guest." I would love to be a guest. So it's so cool that you get that freedom. And
Exactly.
I mean, you don't get the money from a radio station, but
No.
it's still
But-
so fun.
The funny thing is, neither are most people in radio.
Yeah.
Unless you're the morning show and you're the name in the morning show, they're the only ones making a decent living at radio.
So I mean, yeah.
Having worked in Tulsa radio myself, I can tell you that for sure.
Man, somebody's making money in music, but it's none of us. Huh?
That's right. It's not the musician. It's not the radio DJ. It's wow.
It's obviously the people making the sound equipment.
Right.
That's the only people making money. I just learned
Them
a
and the
little
pawnbrokers. When you go pawn your stuff because you can't afford it anymore.
bit. It's cool that I've had radio DJs on the podcast. I've had pawnbrokers. Now, if I have a music equipment supplier,
There
I'll
you
have
go.
everybody. I'll have the trifecta.
That's right.
But I did learn a little bit about radio because my buddy Miles is the most recent episode, and he's been doing radio tours.
Mhm.
And that sounds so cool to me. Also, just driving around, playing a song on the radio, and then going to another radio station and playing another song. So, I mean, I hope you start a podcast because it's really cool that people just come over and
Yeah.
and you get to meet people and hang out with people. I had some dudes that showed up from France and they're like, "Come over," and now we're friends just because I have people talking to the microphones and
That's
upload it on
awesome.
the internet. Or, as Lourdes would say, come be a guest on this professional sounding experience in this studio.
This is a studio.
it is. now.
This is actually a nice studio compared to some radio stations I've been in.
Well, thank you. I've spent a little bit of time. Not really. I just kind of throw stuff there.
It's clean.
That's because some people come over. I did that right before you showed up. That's why I was a little bit sweaty when you showed up 15 minutes early.
You're like, wait, I haven't vacuumed yet.
I used to complain about the flooding, but the flooding would take all the dirt with it. You know, it would leave a little bit of a little bit of a film, but it's not like the grass from because man, when you walk downhill immediately inside your door, everything just comes with you.
Everything follows. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad you've had a good time.
Well,
and
I have
I'm glad you-
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thanks for the compliment on the studio. That's
yes.
cool.
Yes.
What are you thinking about calling your podcast? Or do you have any idea?
We have secured the name Toasting Tulsa as far as the website or the web domain name. So that's what we're probably going to end up calling it, is Toasting Tulsa. And our idea is to do it on the road. So like our first one, we recorded at Valkyrie because I'm weird. I'm into all of these odd little things, and craft cocktails is one of those things that I just love.
Well, that's a place to do it.
And so we went over there one Sunday afternoon and recorded, and we'll see if it can be heard.
There's a way. There's so much digital stuff you can do. I've had some pretty bad recordings turn out good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, so I have faith that it's going to be just fine. And that's a cool idea too. And so, I mean, the sound of Valkyrie, because it's kind of a nice place, so there's no loud drunk people or loud...
Right. Although we wouldn't mind having loud drunk people, because part of what we were looking for is that that ambiance experience. I've told Gene when he edits it not to edit out all of the background noise.
Yeah, sometimes it's awesome.
Exactly.
Wink Burcham did an album live at the Colony, and there's just sometimes like I've listened to the song a few times. I know when the glass is going to chatter, and it's just a cool thing. But then I talked to the person who produced it, and he's like, "Oh, that one I added in," and I was like, "That's clever."
Yes.
Well, that's why you're good at your job.
Added ambiance.
I should have him add. I don't know. What do you expect in a basement? I don't know. I just add a flood, or
yeah, we need a flood or a toilet flushing at least.
Oh yeah, or dogs barking.
Yeah, dogs barking would be appropriate. That would be appropriate.
I'll get on it. I'll have people teach me how to do that. Why is that so funny to me?
Sorry. Oh, not only do I bark like a dog, but I sound like Huxley from the old cartoons. Sorry. Went off on a tangent there.
I'm not new to the idea of your laugh making you laugh. Like the first time I was listening to it, I was like, oh no, my laugh is so stupid. And then, I don't know, my girlfriend was like, well, that's going to be the selling point of this podcast, is how she wants a ringtone of it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, I'm not doing a ringtone in my laugh. Sorry. No,
that's just, I can't have that. But Toasting Tulsa, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I am too.
I'll be, as soon as you have it, let me know.
And as soon as we know when we're going to continue doing our recordings, I'll have you come out and join us one time.
That would be so fun, man.
Bring your guitar and everything.
Done. Sold. I don't know why you'd want that, but
I didn't say you could play it. I just said you could bring it.
You're going to play your country songs for me.
No.
So I'm in.
Absolutely not.
That should be part of your mix night. Just surprise.
There you go. Surprise. I'm doing my own music.
I really want to hear that. I don't think I've been adamant enough that it's got to be on the internet somewhere.
It's variety night. I'm going to do the comedy, I'm going to do the music, and I'm going to do a magic show.
This is a great plan.
Who needs guests?
Well, thank you again, sir.
Hey, I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I appreciate you inviting me. It's
really
been fun.
You were able to, and I'm just glad you've been here. This has been fun. I enjoy it. November 1st.
Comedy Parlor?
First Saturday of every month. If you can't make the first one, I'm sure you can look at your website and see everything that's going on.
Yep, you can.
Well, we'll do it. Say that again.
Oh, also, have people, if you don't mind, look me up on Facebook.
Absolutely.
I'm at CR Parsons Comedian. On Twitter, I'm CR Parsons Comedy. On Vine, I'm something. I don't even know what I am on Vine. And on Instagram, I'm something else.
I was in Vine for like a minute.
Yeah. It's too hard to do things in 6 seconds.
Yeah.
That's just not much time.
And I posted, like, I was at the beach and posted a 6-second video, and I was like, oh, this is so exciting. But then you look at the people that are good at it, and they're taking 12 hours of editing, and it's like, my video is stupid. Who wants to see a beach?
Exactly. That's the way I felt.
I should say those things, too. We have a Twitter now.
Oh, good.
I think it's From a Basement in Tulsa podcast, but just the first letters of From a Basement in Tulsa.
Okay.
So it's Fabbit.
Okay.
Which I love that sounds
stupid. That is awesome. Babbitt.
And then we've recently got a spike in likes on Facebook, which is awesome. And I guess people have been sharing the podcast because the past few weeks I'll check it and I'm just like, oh wow, I start getting a little bit self-conscious about how stupid my laugh is from people in the world hearing it. Like, man, somebody in Japan is listening to my stupid laugh. But it's cool. So whoever's doing that, thank you so much for sharing.
Eddie Murphy made millions off his stupid laugh.
And it's stars like CR Parsons coming and making this podcast awesome.
Yes.
crparsons.com, correct?
Yes, crparsons.com for comedy, crparsons.net if you need a lawyer.
I'll try to add. Which one would you like me to link? I'll just link both of them. I'll add all those links in the description if I'm able. Well, for sure, man. Thanks again. I'll see you again
Thank
soon.
you. Enjoyed it thoroughly.
I did too. Well, all right. I'll see you soon, man.
The
Thanks.
end.
Thank you so much for listening. CR gave me permission to play the audio from a video on his website. So if you want to see the whole video, it's just at crparsons.com. And this is from the Looney Bin. I believe it was the first time I saw him perform, and I cracked up a lot. And I just watched it again and was sitting here in my basement laughing far too loud. So enjoy, and please subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher, and have yourself a good time. Here's CR Parsons.
For C.R. Parsons. Thank you, and thank you, Dan. It is good to see so many people out here, but I have to tell you, I really like being the smartest, most attractive person in the room, so I spend a lot of time alone. I do not, however, like hanging out with midgets. I don't like small-minded people. I hope all you guys have big Thanksgiving plans. I know I do. As soon as this show is over, I'm headed for New Orleans. I love New Orleans. I love any town where a nickel's worth of beads will get you closer to second base than dinner and a movie will here. But I made a mistake the last time I went to New Orleans. I went with my wife and my mother. Never do that. There is nothing worse than walking down Bourbon Street with your mother showing off her boobs for beads by lifting up her skirt. I didn't even know she owned tassel loafers. That was the second vacation I got to take. I went to the island of Jamaica earlier this year. Beautiful island. If you get a chance to go, I highly recommend it. I only had one problem with the island of Jamaica, though. Everybody there tried to sell me weed. Now I want to know, what is it looking at me that makes them think I would be out of weed? I don't know about you guys, but I can plan ahead. And I often get asked if I think weed ought to be legalized here like it is out in Colorado. I don't know that I should get a vote. I do stand-up comedy. Can you imagine if this place had a 2-bowl minimum instead of a 2-drink minimum? I'd never have to write another joke. Just stand up here and throw M&Ms. You guys would laugh at yourselves. Oh, my goodness. I have to say, I do not smoke weed anymore, officer. No, I don't, because of my day job. I am an attorney. I know, I don't look much like an attorney. The tattoos, the long hair throws everybody off. But I come by that confusion completely naturally. I come from a mixed-up household. My mother was college educated, had a master's degree. My father was a redneck. We were the only trailer in the park with a lending library. We learned how to pair our wine with our ramen noodles. Little tip, Boone's Farm goes with all the flavors. You know, there's a saying when you're an attorney that you're never supposed to ask a question that you don't already know the answer to. But I've got questions that I don't have answers for, like, why in the hell does Lane Bryant sell skinny jeans? Amen. Or how was the Chinese army so dominant for thousands of years with all those chinks in their armor? Or how was BJ and the Bear a 70s TV show and not a gay porno? Oh my goodness. I am a married gentleman. I've been married for 14 years now. Yeah, you're a whole lot more excited about it than I am. My wife and I have cute little pet names for each other. She calls me the big guy. I call her Karma. I have to give my wife credit, though. She does think I'm the world's greatest lover. But what does she know? She used to work at Sonic. You push the little red button, she comes. She has this thing for shoes. Ladies, I will never understand why you pay hundreds of dollars for designer name brand shoes. Because you're not doing it for us guys. Because if you are ever interested in a guy who knows the difference between patent leather peep toe Jimmy Choos and platform peep toe Christian Louboutins, he's not interested in you. It's the shoes or your brother, but it is definitely not you. And I don't understand what some women think when they get dressed. I saw a lady just the other day with a deep V-cut t-shirt on. Said Guess across the front. I was not thinking of a designer name brand. I was thinking you're almost 50 and those aren't at your waist. I'm going to guess silicone. Oh, and I know those are a little bit stereotypical to talk about gays in shoes and old women and fake breasts, but I believe in stereotypes. I think they exist for a reason, and every time I say that, it gets me in trouble. Somebody goes, I know so-and-so who doesn't fit that stereotype. Of course you do. If you didn't, it wouldn't be called a stereotype. It would be called a fact. I'm sure somewhere there's an Asian woman who can drive and did not graduate in the top of her class. I'm sure somewhere there's a black man who can swim and understands hockey. I'm sure somewhere there's a Mexican who lives by himself and never carpools. I'm sure somewhere there's a police officer who prefers tea and salad. Just like I'm sure somewhere there's a priest who prefers altar girls. I know that's a sick joke, but I'm a sick man. I have actually had 3 strokes in my life. 3. And I have the worst timing when it comes to strokes. If you have not had a stroke, I don't recommend those. Half of your body just quits working. For me, it was my right half. No feeling, no motion, nothing. I had my first stroke while riding my motorcycle. Yeah, you know where your front brakes are on a motorcycle? They're your right hand! You know where your back brakes are? Same damn side. I mean, I was screwed. I was more screwed than an emo girl in high school. I was more screwed than a tube sock at Comic-Con. I was more screwed than George Zimmerman at an NCAA, not NCAA, that's another stereotype, NAACP meeting. I mean, I was screwed, but that's not the worst. Not the worst. The worst was my second stroke. I had my second stroke while having sex with my wife. You know, they say if you think somebody's having a stroke, have them stick out their tongue. If they are, it'll turn to one side. Same thing happens with Mr. Happy. It was like, who am I kidding? I'm a white man. It was more like, eep. I looked down at my wife, I went, babe, I can't get off. She looked up at me and she said, neither can I with you making faces. That's my time. I'm C.R. Parsons. Thank you guys.